Hello, everybody. It's Mike from Profiling Evil. You know, the Chad Daybell trial is still ongoing up in Idaho. He's accused of murdering 3 people, JJ Vallow, Tylee Ryan, and his wife, Tammy Daybell, all part of a murderous scheme with convicted killer Vallow Daybell. Hey everybody, thanks for tuning in to Profiling Evil, and thanks for hitting the subscribe button. Make sure you're ringing that bell, and please consider telling your friends about us. I've been spending a lot of time on Court TV talking about the Chad Daybell case, and I want to talk for a few minutes today about geofencing, my theory on the raccoon, and how did this wacky couple go from shooting Charles Vallow, the attempt on Tammy Daybell's life, the shooting against Brandon Bedreau, or the evolution of potentially bludgeoning children. Stick around. Well, last night on Court TV, I was up in the mountains, but I had the opportunity to speak a little bit about the area in which the little search warrants were done to collect cell phone data off of Chad Daybell, Alex Cox, and others involved in this murder case that's going on. Hats off, kudos to the police department for gathering the information and putting together the forensic examination of the telephone calls. You're going to be able to catch in just a few moments my comments on Court TV, and then I lose connectivity for a few minutes, and so I don't get to cover the last part, which is what I want to talk about today. This case, the forensics around cell phone data, is boiling down to data that's collected from mobile devices, either wirelessly connecting to a Wi-Fi service, and I think they were connecting to the church and using it as a staging ground on this particular evening, or through GPS, or through the process of triangulation. That's the bringing together of the 3 closest cell towers to try to determine the location. For some people, it's a little frustrating that they can only get down to 150 meters. But keep in mind, here in the U.S., that's almost 500 feet. And that really isn't that big of an area when you consider this wide open space in which the Daybells were living. It really does show how important mobile forensics can be. And the fact that Alex Cox was inside that cone where this attempted murder happened is incredibly significant. So on this map, I've mapped out the location of cell towers. Now, this is according to Highfield, or the Homeland Security Department, the location of the nearest towers. The little red box on there indicates the location where the Daybells lived, that driveway where Tammy Daybell says someone tried to shoot at her. Now, the 3 closest towers are still a long ways away. And because this is such a flat area, I don't know if those towers are on mountaintops or just on a high mast, but that could impact the ability for them to collect the signal off of this. One tower, 3.1 miles away over in Sugar City. The next, 4.1 miles, and then you got to go northeast 5.8 miles to the next nearest tower. Now, this doesn't take into account things like small cell installations or microwave that might be connected or other Wi-Fi points that could be helping to narrow down that area of certainty showing where the phone is. But as I talk about this on Court TV, you're going to catch a little better glimpse as you think about this thing in totality.
All right, Mike King, let's talk about this geofence evidence and warrant. I understand you've prepared a couple maps as well to help us understand this and how they are able to place Alex Cox in the area at the time or the night that Tammy dies.
You know, Vinny, I think for the folks that don't live in an urban area, they can't really wrap their mind around why is it such a large area. And when we looked at that map, when we saw 450 meters, which is almost 500 feet, just a few feet under 500 feet, that's a pretty big area. But when you start talking all this farmland and in this area here, it really becomes pretty small. What are the chances that this guy would be inside of that perimeter at the right time it's just phenomenal to me. And I think it's such a great capture by law enforcement to get that warrant and to be able to put this together and show. I don't know why he was at the church and why they selected the church. My guess is that maybe Alex Cox knew the password for the Wi-Fi in that church, and it was a place where he could do some of his searching. And his internet searches have started to tell us an awful lot, but we start to see these breadcrumbs that tell us where they're moving. And, you know, the challenge, we talked about it before, Vinny, is that big area that we're looking at, it might get smaller because the officer said there was some Wi-Fi involved. It could have been the church Wi-Fi. It could have been Wi-Fi at the Daybell house that was the IP address that was hitting and delivering a little tighter circle. But all the while, they're combining these three things: GPS, the Wi-Fi, and then tower locations where they...
Ironically, as you're talking about Wi-Fi and we're
so
losing your
look
signal at the same time.
Well, I'm never surprised by the next question that Vinny Politan will ask me on court TV. But this one did capture me a little bit as we went back and talked a little more about the raccoons. Maybe it was because I was up in the mountains. I have a place just east of Park City, Utah, up in the mountains, and I was up trying to get the water turned on in my cabin. As I sat there, Vinny pitched the idea of what I think about this idea that there were raccoons out in the daytime, and John Pryor's attempt to try to minimize Chad Daybell's wife to Tammy, that he had killed another raccoon. And here's the key word: that he shot the raccoon, that he buried it in the pet cemetery where he was burning sticks. All things that tie into this murder case and the location where the bodies of Tylee Ryan and JJ Vallow were recovered. Let's watch.
This is the text that I refer to as Raccoon Gate. This is the text from Chad to Tammy, September 9th, 2019. This is right around the last time Tylee is seen. Well, I've had an interesting morning. I felt I should burn all the limb debris by the fire pit before it got too soaked by the coming storms. While I did so, I spotted a big raccoon along the fence. I hurried and got my gun. He was still walking along. I got close enough that one shot did the trick. He is now in our pet cemetery. Fun times. That was a text message. So what is the deal with the raccoons? Well, John Pryor, Chad's lawyer today, is reading an email written by Tammy Daybell to her son who's overseas. This is in June of 2019. Take a listen.
Another adventure we had this week involves a raccoon. Last year we had skunks. This year, a raccoon. We thought stray cats were getting into the cat food, but nope. Garth saw it one night and it was a raccoon. We borrowed a little trap from Matt Price, but when Garth went out to check it that night, the raccoon ran up the tree by the trap. It was huge. No way it was going to fit in the trap. It was larger than Chase and had really long teeth. Garth kept his flashlight on it and called us in the house. Dad got his gun. He shot it out of the tree, then shot it again as it tried to run across the yard. We now have a raccoon buried in the compost heap.
All right. Mike King, you look like you're closest to a place that could potentially have raccoons tonight. What are your thoughts about a daytime morning sighting of the raccoon versus nighttime? I'm not that familiar.
You know what, Vinny? I've had a lot of raccoons harassing us, even right here where I'm sitting, and I don't see them in the daytime. So that thing bothers me. I was glad when you brought it up. And a raccoon, once it's in the tree, if it's got a flashlight on it, will usually stay. So the whole storyline's just kind of bugging me about in the middle of the day, this thing trying to cover ground and get from one place to another. Again, a raccoon is a nocturnal animal. So unless it was chased out of its hiding spot, it just doesn't make sense to me.
Well, finally, we spent a couple of minutes talking about the nature in which these homicides have occurred in this wacky case. It started out with Alex Cox taking long-range shots. You think about Brandon Bedreau. You think about Charles Vallow. That was close-quarter shooting. And then Tammy Daybell. Again, all of these with a weapon that might ensure success. But I believe as Alex gained more confidence and as he received more inspiration and confidence voting from Chad Daybell and Tammy Daybell, we know Tammy was responsible because she's been convicted, and allegedly Chad is involved in this. We see this becoming more intimate in nature. Let's catch my comments on Court TV and the comments of my two panelists who joined me.
And Adam, I still can't believe where we are, and we're talking about your niece, Tylee, that these people, they killed her, they burned her, they put her in a this is unreal. Lori had to know about this. It doesn't, she's not putting blinders on here.
Oh, no, there's no doubt about it. This was all a plan, with Chad, with Lori and Alex. The whole thing was all planned out. I don't know where they got all the ideas of how they were going to kill these people, my nephew and my niece. With Tammy, I don't know how they, came up with a plan for that, but obviously Chad was in the bedroom and must have let Alex in with Tylee and JJ. It was planned. And, on our podcast, Rex and I, my Uncle Rex, we're going to talk about we're going to talk with Mike too. We think that there could be some cult things involved with this, as far as the way that they killed him, that there could be other people involved with participating in either the killing or the burying and all that stuff. So it's all terrible. It's really difficult to think that people could get into their minds and turn into this kind of behavior. But again, I think that they were convinced that, somehow obviously money's involved, sex is involved, but also this crazy dark spirits. Tylee was a dark spirit. JJ was a dark spirit. They turned into zombies. They have to be killed.
Yeah. Mike, looking at the pattern here, though, it seemed like it was guns at first, right? There was the Brandon Boudreaux shooting. There's Charles Vallow was shot. Then there's the attempt on Tammy's life with the gun. But we don't know for sure how Tylee was killed because of the state of her remains. What do you think about putting all those together? Like, it's a pattern, but it isn't a pattern, right?
Yeah, I look at Alex Cox as kind of this budding serial killer hitman who's trying to do what he thinks God wants him to do and follow his sister, and in this case, Chad, if he is in fact involved. The thing that I find about this, Vinny, that is so interesting and is so close to other kinds of serial predator crimes is that oftentimes they will get more personal as they get better at it. And we know that Alex wasn't very good at it, that he didn't understand things like shooting at close range versus longer ranges where he was sighting a weapon in. And hopefully that's why Brandon survived. But as we see the time get closer and closer to the children, we see the intimacy getting closer and closer. And that's something that I've seen over and again in other kinds of predatory cases. Again, when they're uncomfortable and new at it, they're going to use something to guarantee success, like a rifle. But then they're going to want that thrill, and it just doesn't come the same, so they have to get more and more intimate. And isn't that a wacky thing to think about?
Sky, I wonder, and I think about this, did they think like they were going to get away with it? Like, 2 children missing, that, someone's going to say something.
I think they absolutely thought they were going to get away with it. And I think, if you look back at the sort of trail of bodies, they had gotten away with it for a long time. I mean, Alex was never really even looked at for Charles' murder. And so they were getting away with it already. And I think that is, I don't know, it's kind of like a drug, maybe, that they've gotten away with it. They think they're going to continue to get away with it. And beyond that, I believe they thought they were doing it for a higher power, that God was asking them to do this. And that's why they were getting away with it. So I feel like they felt like they were invincible.
And that's how that intersection, Adam Cox, again, of the the murder, and then you feel that cult-like beliefs that they have, that they're being protected, and that's what this is about. It keeps coming back to those three.
Yeah, there's so, like I said, this story is so complicated with all the different things that we've all mentioned before, and it all comes back to a belief system. And how this is all gonna, in my opinion, their minds were like, God is allowing us to get away with this because this is his plan. He's behind this. Like we didn't get in trouble for Charles. We didn't get in trouble for, and my belief is, I think that Chad had told him the end of the world is coming. The world's going to be in this chaos. So no one's even going to notice before, July or whatever date that he said that no one's going to even notice the kids are missing because so many people are going to be dead because the end of the world's coming and all these people are going to be scattered and it's going to be completely different. I really believe that was their mindset going into all this. It wasn't like, oh, we can just kill Tylee and JJ and no one's ever going to miss them. I really believe that the only way that they thought that would be like, oh, well, the end of the world's going to be here, so we're doing what we're doing right before God comes, and obviously that didn't happen.
Right.
Well, there you go. This crazy case has come to another close for the weekend, and it'll jump back into gear on Monday morning. But I want to know what your thoughts are on these topics. And is it helpful when I take time to talk about these individually with you to explore what I think are going to become key markers as the prosecution puts together all of the case material in this thing? Remember, there are multiple forms of evidence, and in this case, we've got it all. We got a body. We got forensic and physical evidence. We have admissions, not confessions, but admissions in this case. And we've got all kinds of circumstantial evidence. And that's the stuff I like the most, because circumstantial is that stuff that says A plus B equals C. And I think we're going to find that all of this comes together in a way that finds Chad Daybell guilty of murder. I'd like to know your thoughts. Please put them down below. And please consider taking advantage of this $20 offer we have for a little bit of merchandise from Profiling Evil, but a great way for you to support our efforts here. We're trying right now to raise a little money as the construction of the Children's Justice Center is underway. And we look forward to that thing continuing on. But for $20, only $20, and I know that's a lot for some of you, so don't feel stressed out if you can't afford it. But for $20, you can support Profiling Evil. And in return, I'll send you 4 coasters. I got these brand new coasters that are cork, and they're the Profiling Evil logo and our new mapping logo as well on there. You'll also get 4 stickers, and you'll get a Profiling Evil pen, all for $20, shipped anywhere in the United States. So I hope you'll take advantage, and I hope you'll give us that support. And listen, folks, watch for Profiling Evil on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and Twitter. And if you like audio podcasts, make sure you're checking out Profiling Evil podcasts on your favorite podcast platform. Now listen, we're moving up to the month of May, which is choir practice, the first Monday of the month. I got 2 special guests joining me this month, and I don't think you're going to want to miss it.
Hey everybody, look who I'm hanging out with. And listen, I'm not attending choir practice, but I just wanted to tell you that you need to be watching Profiling Evil YouTube. Don't miss it. I'm telling you, there's something there for you every single time. I never miss. You shouldn't either.
So please join us on the first Monday of the month of May for choir practice. And from all of us at Profiling Evil, thank you so much for your support. It really means a lot, and it makes a difference of whether we continue to do this or not. I really appreciate it, and I hope that you all are enjoying the content that we're putting out here on Profiling Evil. Thanks for your support, and we'll see you soon at the next crime scene.